I muted you there just so.
Oh,
That
I
was,
see. Okay.
yeah, that was me. Sorry. Hey, comedy fans, welcome to another edition of the Comedy at the Carlson Cast. I'm your host. My name is Vinny, and joining me today, it's Shane Torres. Today's episode is brought to you by our good friends at Three Heads Brewing, the makers of Rochester's most delicious beer. Remember, drink responsibly, do good things, and always be kind. And now, let's get this show started. Good morning, Carlson casters. I'm very excited today to be joined by our guest, Shane Torres. For those of you who don't know Shane, he is a New York-based stand-up comic by way of Fort Worth, Texas. He's appeared on shows like Conan O'Brien. He's been on Last Comic Standing, and his first half-hour special, Established 1981, are available. The audio and the video of it are available now through Comedy Central. He's been performing 4 more shows this weekend here at the Carlson. You get your tickets at carlsoncomedy.com. Folks, I'm glad to have Shane Torres on the show. Good morning, Shane.
Hey, man. It's nice to see you.
It's nice to see you, too. Man, thank you for bringing this Texas weather with you. Like,
Oh,
you
yeah.
literally
Yeah.
got
I brought the cold up.
the cold up. It's beautiful outside. Are you kidding me?
Oh, yeah. It's been a thrill. Oh, in the 36, whatever, 24 hours I've been here, it's been a joy to walk around your beautiful city.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I do understand sarcasm. I totally get it.
Yeah. It's the Paris of Western New York here. It's very...
You know, you laugh, but we are a cultural hub, sir. We are hosting you this weekend.
Yes, that's true. Well,
we are a city of discerning tastes.
Well, I jest, but apparently there's some really great museums here that I might go check out that I've been told about. Yeah, so, but yeah, it's mostly I like it so far. Just the weather really fucking bummed me out yesterday, and I can't really blame the residents for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we all opened up our freezers because we heard you were coming and just left them open to get it extra colder.
Yeah,
give us a break.
Fuck this guy.
Yeah. Oh, originally from Texas. We'll show him. Shane, is this your first time here, though, for real, in Rochester?
No, I feel I've come through Rochester before, but I can't. I think it might be my first time headlining. Maybe I came through with opening for somebody or came through with a band or something, but I'm not sure. Cool. But I feel like I've been here before.
And I actually do not blame you one bit for not remembering, just because I've looked at what you've been up to the last decade, and you've been everywhere, Shane.
I'm pretty fucking tired, man. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's an understatement, man. You just came off a tour right before this weekend. Is that right?
Well, I was just in Europe with Bert on tour, and then we did a month there, and then I flew from London to San Francisco to do my own tour, start my own tour to gear up for my album special, or my special taping, which is next month. So yeah, so I went from playing palaces in San Francisco to Rooster Tea Feathers, or palaces in Europe to a comedy club in San Francisco called Rooster. So
I have to ask you, this is something that's always been interesting to me. I've never performed stand-up in Europe ever. I don't think that's my path. How different is it versus the States? Because like, you're a seasoned comic, you've been around. How are the audiences different?
Well, they're not, in a lot of ways. So I've been there twice to do stand-up. Okay. Once on this tour, and this tour was amazing, opening for Kreischer. But the thing is, there's two things. I feel in the past, I went 4 years ago or 5, whatever it was, probably 5.
Okay.
I've been 3 times, 5, and I feel stand-up has like then was like good and people really liked it and I had fun, right? The shows were good. But in the past 5 years, I think they're just getting so much YouTube and so much content from people that they really, really are moving forward at a pretty rapid rate, and like how much they like American comedy and what they know about it. Because when you open for somebody else who's a bigger act, you kind of have a blessing from them. Where you do, but you have a blessing from their audience is what I mean to say. To be like, give it a run, like, oh, we'll give them a shot. They're this guy's guy, so like, so that being said, in the predominantly, where English is a second language countries, surprising how good they were. Like in the sense of like, they listen, like I knew they would be good, but they listen so intently sometimes when there's a language barrier, no matter where you're at, that you can be like, and that's when I said, you ain't shit and your daddy wasn't shit. And then, ha 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 ha, like,
big pops
like back into listening,
weird.
Because their active listening requires a little more activity or attention, I guess,
Sure. I always feel like in countries where there is a language barrier and stuff like that, that most languages don't translate to each other perfectly. Like they don't.
No.
They like different euphemisms and things like that are lost in translation at times. But it's really cool to hear that stand-up is picking up in these countries because of social media and YouTube and all that stuff. That's nice to know. The world's getting a little smaller.
Yeah, that's what I would assume is going on. But yeah, they were great. The crowds were awesome, and then definitely on my first time there, I was like, oh, I've got to like shuck and jive a little more with these folks, and then they push a little harder. Yeah,
sure. Well, you've had a really interesting career path, Shane. I really have to say, man, there's not a lot of people who's worked as hard and have been out there doing stand-up the way you've done stand-up. So my head is totally off to you. I want to talk to you about what people say kind of launched you. They say that your appearance on Conan, where you defended Guy Fieri, was what kind of launched you more into the mainstream, where people were like, oh, I like this guy. Is that accurate? Do you feel like that really helped launch success for you?
If I'm being honest, I still feel like I'm waiting to launch.
Understood.
I will say that was a big thing people saw me from. And I guess when you think about it, or when you look at it, it is a little rare that a stand-up clip on a late night show goes viral in these past 5 years, and I worked really hard on it, and I'm very proud of the bit, but I had a feeling it would do well, I thought it was a good bit. But this was before people were clipping everything online too.
Sure. So
like I'm like, man, if I put that online, how well would I be doing? Like when everything could share,
sure.
But people still see it, and I think it is a thing that made people pay attention to me, and I got a lot of calls,
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, you went on Conan O'Brien, and what was it, 2015-ish, 2014?
That was, I think 16 was my first one, so this would have been 17.
Okay, 2017. I'm a little off on my timeline. Sorry, folks. But you went on there, and you did a bit that was not what a normal, it didn't feel like what a traditional stand-up comedy bit would be on a late night show, because you went and took this approach of, hey, listen, why is everybody giving this guy shit? It wasn't, hey, I was in the supermarket the other day. It wasn't any type of autobiographical thing. It was literally, you asked a question to the audience and then made your point through your act. People don't do stuff like that often on those types of shows. Did you feel going into it? I know you said you thought it would do well, but were there nerves that maybe this was too different for people?
No, because it's not too different. I get where you're coming from.
Okay.
Because, you raised an interesting point, but I think really, one, it wasn't the first time I'd done the bit or anything like that, obviously. Certainly. So I knew it worked, and frankly, I feel like the bit, I could have done it better. Like, I think I did it well, but I think I could have played it better. I think it was a little off my time. Okay. But that being said, there were two things. One, the booker, who's still a friend of mine, goes, hey, man, because it's just the one bit. There's no parachute for me. There's no jump. He goes, if this goes shit, you got to do the whole thing still.
That's the other part of it too. People don't realize when you're choosing your material for a late night television show, it's not like you have the opportunity to recover and go into your closer if something didn't go well. You're absolutely right. There's not a
Yeah.
parachute there.
Yeah. You can't do a crowd where like, where you from? What? Who are you? Like, there's none of that kind
Right.
of. And the other thing is, I stylistically, that's just something I tend to do.
Right.
In my act is kind of like pose questions to the crowd that are, like not redundant, but that are just like rhetorical. And
Sure.
so like I'll be like, have you ever done something like like I'm doing a thing now in my act where I ask if people have shared something with people and then they were embarrassed on how their friends reacted to their sharing a secret.
Okay.
Essentially. And I do that, but it's like it's not intended to really get even a word out of someone. I just say this is how I talk,
Right.
and that, yeah. So I guess like the question posing thing is just something I do, and I didn't even really think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I come out and I say, "Can someone please explain to me?" Like when it's a monologue, clearly a monologue based event that's happening in front of them, like shut the fuck up. Like you don't be the asshole that thinks I actually want to hear from like.
So you're telling
Be
me
as
nobody in the
constructive a
audience stood
listener
up
as
and
I
was
am a
like,
creator. Yeah, like yeah. Somebody stood up. Oh God.
"Oh no."
Yeah. And it's always embarrassing for them. And it's always embarrassing for the person that's with them. Like, he thinks he's funny.
Yeah. Everybody thinks they're the comedian, but not everybody gets the microphone. So,
Yeah.
in my brain, when I watched that the first time, and I've seen it before, I've seen it over the last couple of years. The first time I saw it, I was like, wow, that's a very brave choice because, like, the idea of asking and posing the rhetorical question to the audience, I feel like is like one thing when you're in the room, and then another thing when you're doing it on national television to an audience of, hundreds of thousands to millions of people. So that's where I was coming from with that. I just thought it was a brave choice, and I wanted to commend you on it. I thought it
Oh,
was pretty
thank you.
cool.
Yeah. I guess I didn't. If somebody had been like, "Yeah, I'll tell you why," I'd be like, "Sit down, shut up. I'm doing my act."
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. So you alluded to it earlier. You're gearing up for your new special. Am I allowed to ask you who's producing it? Because I think I know.
You're allowed to ask. I don't think I haven't gone public with it
Okay.
yet, so I'm not going to tell. But I
It's a
appreciate your enthusiasm.
it's going to be very cool, folks. Where are you filming it? Have you picked a venue?
President Joe Biden is producing my special.
It's a Joe and Jill production.
Yeah, yeah. If you thought his shit was senile, wait till you see mine.
Just a lot of questions to the ether. That's what you're going to get.
Why are we? How come? Oh God, that might be what I'm like when I'm old.
So, man, you're basically a philosopher.
Where's the lid to my coffee? My crotch is hot.
So, what was the stand-up scene like in Fort Worth when you started comedy?
I didn't actually start in Fort Worth.
Oh, where'd you start?
I'm from Fort Worth, but I started in Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
And that was 15 years ago.
Wow! Congratulations.
I think. Fuck me.
From Portland to Rochester, the Shane Torres story.
Oh my God. With a brief sojourn in Europe.
Stop by a couple palaces.
Yeah, Rochester is a palace of its own. The whole city, I feel. So.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. When I started in Portland, Oregon, because I left Texas, and I just kind of was like, I have this like, I guess I have a bit of a wanderer's nature,
Okay.
like, and I ended up in Portland, and it was it really, it turned out to be a beautiful place for me. And this was, that was almost 18 years ago or whatever. So then I got into comedy a couple years later, so I'm in my 16th year of comedy. So 2 years into living in Portland, I was starting to do comedy.
So when you left Texas, it wasn't I'm going to go make it in stand up. I'm going to go do stand up in Portland. It was just you were traveling and you kind of fell into stand up.
Well, I know it sounds cliche, but I did always like stand-up comedy a lot.
Mhm.
Like I just did. I would say I loved I loved Cosby, and like whenever Carlin special was on, I would like watch it if I knew about it and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, so I always loved it and I took a lot of it in. But there wasn't so much exposure in the beginning of my life, like when I was very, very young.
Okay.
Like my parents didn't watch it all the time, or but I liked the Tonight Show, and I liked Letterman. But it wasn't like some comics parents were like, I watched Letterman every night. I wouldn't say it was like that in my house. I would say like, and as I got older, uh, like high school, I learned about Hicks, and then you would remember Hedberg and these kind of guys.
Yeah.
But there was, and I was like, oh, that would be really cool to do. I know I thought that a few times, but there was no place to start that I knew of, or how. There wasn't like a scene for me. And then when I got to Portland, there was a scene, and but I didn't know about it. I just went into a local show one night, and I thought it was great, and it kind of blew my mind.
And you said, I got to try this at least once. Like, what got you
Yeah,
to pull the
as soon as
trigger to get on
I
stage?
saw the local show, and there were these guys, and I was like, oh, they're so different. They were weird because so much of my exposure had been mainstream comedy,
Right.
like, and then these guys were so different. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. Like I'm like that's like what I'm gonna try to do, at least once. And then I did it at the Hungry Tiger 2 TOO, and because there was the first one that shut down,
Okay.
uh, and it's still there, I believe. And yeah, man, I did it, and I fell in love with it. And I'm
Yeah.
still, yeah.
Okay.
And
I just think that
it was a great place to start.
Portland, Oregon is one of the coolest cities, I think. I've only been there, I think, once, and maybe Troy. No, one time. And I just had such a good time. I loved like the vibe of the city. I feel like it would be a really amazing, like open place to do comedy
It
starting out.
was, especially then. I don't like, I haven't lived there in almost 8 or 9 years, whatever it is. So like, the city, I'm sure, has changed quite a bit, but I still have friends in comedy there that don't do comedy anymore. Like, and are not
Yeah.
involved. And I still love that. It was just like you have that seed where you start with people, and you only get that once.
Yeah.
Like you can start in new things and new paths, but like you become a veteran at
Right.
some point, and like so you don't have that trench warfare kind of mentality that you had with other young comics,
Sure.
and I miss that a great deal because I have good friends in New York in comedy and people I love, but I don't have anyone there from Portland at all, like anyone from my very beginning.
Interesting.
So like a lot of people a lot of my friends moved to LA or whatever. They all have each other to some degree.
Right.
Like they have their ride or die from the beginning people.
Yeah.
And
I'm
I
sorry.
don't in New York, and it's fine. Like I chose that. It's fine. But it is a thing you like. You miss having history with people, so you have to build it again, which I enjoy quite a bit.
Okay.
But it's also like by my own design. It's not like a pity party. It's just like a thing. Sometimes you're like, well, like, yeah, I wonder how they're doing. Like, cause like sometimes they'll sit around and like I'll be at the cellar or wherever talking with someone or a few guys, and they'll be talking like, oh, do you remember when this guy did this? And I'm like, no, I wasn't here.
Before my time.
You guys
Yeah.
seem to have a nice, rich history of friendship, though.
I missed that. I had friends once. I read an interview that you had done a while back, and you had talked about Portland as being like the place where you got good at comedy, and it got you kind of built up to the point where you were ready for New York.
Yeah, I thought it was a good place to start. It really creatively. I've been asked that a few times, and creatively, I think the thing is that it's. I mean, I said a few times, and creatively, I think the thing is that it's. I think creatively, I think the thing is that it's. I mean, creatively, I think the thing is that it's. I think creatively, I think the thing is that it's. I think creatively, I think the thing is that it's. I think creatively, I think the thing is that it's. really, it was the right time with the right people.
Got it.
And that
So,
matters a lot in any creative field or any way you go in life.
well, we spent a lot of time this morning talking, and I really appreciate that. I'm going to ask you one more question, let you enjoy the rest of your day and get ready for your show. But
10
this is
inches.
I lost the pool.
Uh,
I lost the pool again every week. I always overguess. I had you down as a 13-incher, my man.
oh,
I lost
that's
again.
that's headlining arena comic beans.
Okay. So my question is this, and we have a lot of young performers who watch the show, and they try to, I try to give them interviews where they could kind of learn from the performers about some things. And you talked a lot about how you had to rebuild your history when you get to New York. New York is a very scary proposition to a lot of people who love comedy and want to pursue it. Do you have any advice for anybody when they get to New York on maybe some do's and do not do's in the New York comedy scene?
Well, yeah, okay. There's two things that come to mind immediately. One is the same thing as it's just like work harder than everybody and be nice to everyone, but don't trust anyone. Don't talk shit. Like even if you don't like someone, it doesn't. There's no value in it, really, for the most part, unless someone's like a fucking sexual assaultist, which is in comedy rightfully these days.
Yeah. Who knew rapists were so funny?
Yeah, no shit. They're hilarious. And then the other thing I would say is like, fucking, just because someone is in New York doing comedy does not mean they're good at it or even better than anyone. Don't
Sure.
like. I like it is a challenging place to live. That's true, but it's not impossible. Like you just have to be like willing to put up with some shit for a while, like until you make your life better. I wasn't, it's a lot to take in, but I wasn't really overwhelmed by it, like the city, like, and maybe I'm too dumb to notice how like much the odds get stacked against you, because they're still stacked against me in some ways.
Yeah.
But I didn't fucking, it was like a week and I was like, oh, this isn't so fun. You find a rhythm after a bit, really, is what I'm trying to get to. Is like
Okay.
you find a way. Yeah. So like after a week, I was like, okay, starting to know where this stuff is, starting to figure this out. Like it's just you're just kind of regaining your sense of direction in a lot of ways. So like give yourself some time,
Yeah.
and find a place to
So Shane, can you just clarify something for me? Because like the term work gets used very loosely. Outwork everybody else. We're talking writing, we're talking open mics, we're talking networking. There's lots of different layers to work, folks. If you
it's like
pick,
what you want to do.
yeah.
Like I love performing, like I got home on Monday morning from San Francisco after being in Europe for a month. So I did 5 shows in San Francisco. I got home, I red-eyed home Sunday night. And I got home Monday morning and I was home for 3 days and I flew to Rochester yesterday and I did 9 shows in those 3 days, like,
Yeah.
Like I work hard, like, and maybe sometimes I need to work smarter, but my point is like, fuck man, like I just,
You could take the down days, or you
I
could actually get some work done.
Yeah, well, like last night I uploaded, like, somebody else is working. Somebody else is working when you're not working because you have to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, I see these people who I had done shows with, and I'm like, oh, they're doing that. I need to, like, like I need to be doing better. They're doing that. I need to be doing better. Like they're doing, like, and it's like it's other people. Having a competitive drive is a good thing. Don't let it be the thing that dictates your emotional reaction, but having it like move your work ethic forward can be motivating. Like seeing other people's success should serve as a map to your success and a motivation to your success, and not a jealous, I'll never get there. So like,
And there's a big difference, folks. There's a big difference with your lens and how you view other people's success.
Yeah.
Remember that.
Yeah, like that's like I heard Patton Oswalt say this once. Is like you're like other people. The thing that other people are doing that you would like to be doing. Look at what they did to do that. So your jealousy is a map. So, and then I heard that and I immediately applied it, and that was years ago. I immediately applied it because my friend Ron Funches. I don't know if you know him.
I know Ron.
Yeah, he was in Portland. We were around there at the same time. But he was like really doing well, and I was like, how did he get on this festival? And then I heard that interview with Pat, and I was like, oh, that's what you do. And then I saw what he did. I took the time to look at what he was doing, and I was like, okay, I can't get into that festival right away, but I can do these things, and I can go up there to do this. You know, like yeah, and I can go to that town and get in that way.
Folks, that's some wonderful advice. You know, follow the footprints of the people who went in front of you, and you don't need to be a copycat. You need to be yourself, but there's also a lot of practical wisdom and just looking at how people got to where they were. I think that's wonderful advice, Shane. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. Like, this is a really, I have to say sincerely, like you have a really informed interview.
Thanks,
I appreciate you taking the time to look shit up about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
very flattering, but it also makes me feel like you give a shit as well. Sometimes like I'll do these and people will be like, what do you want to talk about? I'm like, for fuck's sake, I woke up for this.
Dude, that is the biggest compliment I could get. I really, truly appreciate it because
it's very well informed.
I care very much because I just think there's so many wonderful lessons, and comedians have such a fantastic perspective on life that maybe people don't always get. It's so wonderful to hear these stories from people like you who are out there in the trenches right now doing it. And I nothing but respect, man. My hat's off to you. Where can everybody follow you? I know you're at Shane Torres on social media. Do you have a website, YouTube, anything like that?
ShaneIsComedian.com, Shane Torres on YouTube, and Shane Torres across all social media platforms. And I have the No Accounting for Taste podcast with another great comic, Kyle Conan, where we defend
Kyle's
things.
Great.
He's brilliant. We defend things like people tend to make fun of and shit on. So basically, it's kind of like the Guy Fieri joke, but a podcast. So we take suggestions. Like yesterday, we defended monogamy, and then
somebody has to fight for it.
Yeah, and then Fast and the Furious, and so like we do these things. It's fun.
That does sound great. I'll have to check that one out, man. Thank you again for the time, and 4 more shows tonight, or 4 more shows this weekend. 2 tonight, 2 tomorrow with Shane. You guys, you're Carlson casters. You get your tickets at carlsoncomedy.com. And Shane, thank you again, my man. We'll talk to you soon. And next time you come through, I'd love to have you come in studio and hang out with me.
I appreciate that, man. I'd love to too. I got to ask you a question off the cast, if that's okay.
Sure. I'm gonna end the broadcast. Everybody will be back next week with a brand new episode. We'll see you then.